just want to introduce myself. So my name is Shannon Elliott, and I am the manager of the NSYNC network for support group leaders here at PMD Alliance. And so we've been doing lots of trainings the last several months, helping to get groups online. We have roundtables once a month for all of us to come together and share ideas. A little plug for next Monday. We're doing our December roundtable next Monday at the same time, same place. And I also wanted to introduce to you Trang, who's on with me. Hi, Trang.
Hi everyone.
She's helping me with the back end on Zoom here as we have our meeting. Today is going to be quite exciting with lots of back and forth, in and out of Zoom controls and PowerPoints and things like that. So she is helping me make sure that I'm staying on track there. As you know, if you've taken your groups online already, it's really helpful to have somebody in your corner and watching things from a different perspective. So thank you very much to Trang. Excuse me, clear my throat. So as we get started here, why don't we go ahead and rename ourselves? So some of us are familiar with this task as we do our NSYNC trainings. I just love to have your first name and the city in which you live, and you're going to do that by hovering over your own image. If you're on a computer, it might be a little bit different. If you're on an iPad or a phone, but you hover over your own image, find that ellipsis menu, click on those three dots and find rename, and you can type in your first name and your city so that we know where you are. I see Karen is in Santa Fe with me just across the way. Nice to see you there. Excellent. Okay, so as we get started, I'm going to share just a few slides with you to let you know what we're going to be going over today, and then we are just going to jump right in and work on some of these new features that Zoom keeps updating on us, and we have to stay on top of things. So I am going to share my slides. Okay, so hopefully you're seeing that okay. Trang, do you see my PowerPoint? Okay, wonderful. So welcome to everyone. As we get started, I just wanted to ask, I think it was mentioned in the description of today's training, but I'm hoping that most of us remembered to update your Zoom to the latest version. So if you haven't done that, no worries. You can always do that after the fact, but you might not have the same functionality that some of us who have updated will have. So just hang tight with us and you'll still learn as we do this, and you can reference the recording later, no problem. So we are doing our advanced Zoom features and updates today. So I've had some requests recently to go over polling. That is a really fun feature that Zoom offers, and so we'll go through that. I'm gonna teach you today how to use the Annotation Tool. So that's something that you can use with your groups as another engaging activity. We're going to do our self-select breakout rooms feature again. We've done that maybe twice at this point, but that's a new Zoom feature that I want to make sure you understand from the back end as a host and how to deal with that. We're going to talk about the custom gallery view. So it's a way that you can control where the different images of your participants are on your screen. We'll talk about the multi-spotlight and multi-pin feature, which is pretty cool. And then we'll go over virtual backgrounds, video filters, and studio effects. So those are fun additions that we can add visually to our Zoom experience. We'll talk about some video settings that are nice to know about. And then at the end, we'll have a little bit of time for Q&A. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing this slide here, and I am going to get into my Zoom settings just to kind of keep you in the loop on what's happening on my end. But I have the ability to share my Zoom windows with you so that you can see what's going on as a host. And so it might be a little bit confusing at the beginning. You're going to see your own Zoom window, and then you're going to be seeing my Zoom window. So just keeping in mind to keep those two separate in your mind as we move forward. So I'm now going to share my desktop so that you can see my Zoom windows. Okay, so Trang, can you please confirm with me that you're able to see my menus pop up?
Yep, perfect.
Okay. Excellent. Great. Okay, so starting from the top, polling. So this is a feature that some people have asked about, and I just want to make it clear that if any of you as support group leaders are using the PMD Alliance Pro Zoom account for your support group meetings, that polling is actually not an option for you, because we have a bunch of Zoom meeting links that are shared amongst many different groups. And so the polling requires accessing the website, the Zoom account that we have access to as staff. And so I just want to make that really clear. It doesn't hurt for you to know how polls work, but then a lot of you have your own Zoom accounts, and that this is something that you're able to do with your groups because you do have access to your Zoom account through the website. Okay, so I just want to make that clear as we get going here. We're going to go through the steps of creating a poll. And I want this to be interactive, so I'm going to ask you to help me. I want to crowdsource this as we create our poll. And so I'm going to start here. If you can see my mouse moving around at the very bottom, as a host, you have this capability of doing a poll. Okay, so if I hit that polling button, this window pops up, and this happens to be a saved poll that I created months ago that I had provided to our InSync training participants. And so that's the poll number 1 is what automatically shows up. So if you see me at the top here and you see this caret, I'm going to click on that caret, and what comes up is this drop down menu, and it shows me all of the different polls that I have done in the past. So I just clicked on poll number 2. And so this is something that I can access quickly, right? And it's just sort of saved on the back end, and I can access it again if I wanted to. Now, if I want to create a new poll, this is where we're going to be jumping from the Zoom application where we are right now, and it's going to open up the Zoom website. So if I wanted to create a new poll, do you see this edit button here? And so if I click on that edit button, hopefully you're seeing my web browser open up. And I'm going to move this a little bit so I can see Trang and have a visual because it gets really complicated with a bunch of different windows here. So this Zoom window is just, or this poll window is in my way. So what I'm going to do is just close it out so I can see my web browser more easily. Now, Zoom detected that I had clicked poll, I had clicked edit, and so it jumped right into the place where I can add a new poll, right? If I had not been logged in, though, it would have asked me to put my login information, my password, and then I would have had to have gotten into the Zoom website in that way. But I was already, prior to this meeting, I made sure that I was logged in. Just something to say. So, or something to note. So I want to see some of your faces. I can't see all of you, but I would love to have some participation here. So let's think about just some questions that we might ask our group members. And it doesn't have to be serious, they can be silly ones. I'm going to enter a title for this poll as December 7th poll experiment. Okay, now here, this is an anonymous possibility where if I clicked on this, then later the results of that poll would not have anyone's names next to their responses. But usually, we can share that with each other. But if it's something you wanted to keep anonymous, that's something that's possible for you. Now, if someone could think of a fun question that we can type in here, and this is where I'm going to ask for your participation. And then when you think about your questions, we need to keep in mind that people can never write in, they can't type in a response. It's all about selecting a written response. So it's more of like a multiple choice test, if you remember those from school. So we have to also provide the answers or options that people can click on. Okay, does anyone want to be brave and help me with this first question? What shall I ask? If you see anyone,
Polling before.
I hear someone speaking. Let's see, who is that? Oh, it's Mark. Hi, Mark.
Have you used polling before?
Oh, great. Okay. Have you used polling before? Question mark. Okay, what would the first answer be, Mark?
Yes.
Yes. Answer two.
No.
No. Is there a third possibility? In my dreams? In an alternate reality? Yeah, so we can start to think about, well, maybe it's not always a black and white answer. Maybe we need to say something in the middle. And
Yeah.
this is a fairly clear question, but sometimes we shouldn't assume, right, that it might be one or the other. Like there might be some gray area in between. So that's something to kind of think about when we're creating our answers. Did I hear someone else unmute themselves to say something? Hi, Myra.
Had difficulty with it.
Ah,
Another response.
had difficulty with using Zoom, something like that. Great, wonderful.
Shannon, I had a question.
Sure.
When you
Hi,
went,
Donna.
you said edit polling, edit, but you can only create new polls. You can't edit existing polls.
You can edit existing polls, yes, and I'll show you how to do that.
Okay, I just wanted to see. Okay.
Yes, anytime you have access from that back end in the Zoom website, you're able to access whatever poll you've already created. You can change a question, you can change an answer, you can move the order of those questions, delete something, so that's all a possibility. Those are
So
all
when we selected edit, it would automatically went into the new poll screen.
correct. Yes. I could have X'd out of that, like gotten rid of it, and then accessed all of my polls in a different way, which I can show you separately.
Thanks.
Yes, of course. All right, let's do one more question so we can get the hang of this. Who else has an idea?
I actually had put something in the chat already typed up for you, Shannon. This is Bernadette from Woodland, California.
Yes, hi Bernadette, nice to see you.
And I thought, just in the spirit of being kind of silly for the holidays, the question that I put in the chat was, have you been naughty or nice?
Ooh, lots of gray area there. I love that. So I love that. So you'll see here, I have my question number one, everyone. And then if I scroll down, I get to add a question. Boom. And then number two pops up. Have you been naughty or nice? Ooh, okay, answers.
Yeah. So answer one could be nice.
Nice.
Answer two could be naughty.
Naughty.
Answer three could be a bit of both. And answer four could even be something like prefer not to answer, or
I plead the fifth. Yes. Great. Okay. Love it. Say that again, Kelly.
Expecting coal, C-O-A-L.
C-O-I. Let me see if I
You
got
being
it.
naughty.
Hole in your stocking, Shannon?
Oh, your Texas accent, Kelly, threw me off. Sorry.
Oh,
Shannon.
Yes.
Shannon, this is Hetty
Let me.
in Traverse City.
Hi there, Hetty.
Hi there. Mine is in relation much to Myra's. And I feel that when you're asking the question about, have you used the poll? I think the next questions related to that should be, one, yes or no. Two, successful, yes or no. And three, four, wherever we're at, do you know why it was successful, or do you know why it was unsuccessful? Because this is indicating the fact that had a problem, couldn't figure it out, or could figure it out.
That's a great point,
This
Hetty.
is all back to the poll. It's wonderful to have a good time, but all back to the poll.
Yes, absolutely. So the poll questions can be serious or silly, right? They can be anywhere in between. One thing about polling that I've realized is that when I ask a question like you've suggested, Hetty, that is going to open up discussion, because you can't glean everything from just someone, clicking on an answer. Like if they have had difficulty with Zoom, or if they've had success and you're asking about that, you're going to need to probably ask for more clarification and then really drill down to what's going on. So this is a really great way to think about how you approach asking your poll questions and why, and then what you're going to do after the fact, if you're going to have a Q&A or an open discussion.
I did a poll on all of the new rescue drugs or extender drugs, Ambrosia, and so on and so forth, to find out who was using them, what was their problem with using all of them, because we're getting a plethora of those drugs. And for Parkinsonians, they need a good explanation. And if they're using them, they need to be able to tell us what is it that happened that didn't work. And by the way, use them past 2 days. Trying a drug for 2 days doesn't work.
Yes, you can sometimes problem solve with that sort of that questioning. And again, it's just bringing up topics to discuss. And
try doing that with my 116.
Ooh, that's rough, isn't it?
Rough.
To manage all of that. Breakout rooms might be helpful for you. Thanks, Hetty, for that. Yes, Kelly.
Shannon, say that we're building a section, a bunch of questions, and all of a sudden we think of a question that should be, say, back up the line someplace, like where we was working on the Zoom questions up there, and we want to ask the question. Say we was working on question 1 and we've added 3 more questions, and all of a sudden we think of a question that should be back up as number 2. When you put the questions in there, can you shuffle where the order of them?
You can do that, Kelly. That needs to happen on the back end, just like where we are right now within the website. You cannot finagle your poll once you've gone back into Zoom and you're trying to poll your group and use that poll.
No, when you're building the poll.
Yes, you have that capability of modifying, adapting as you wish.
Okay.
And I can show you that for sure.
Okay.
Great. Thanks for these questions. Okay, so back to our poll that we're creating. So the number 1 here, blah, 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 blah. If I want to get back into number 2, I just click on number 2, and then here are our answers. Down here at the bottom, you'll see this option to save. Okay, so I'm going to click save. And if it takes me back to my meetings tab within my NSYNC Online account, okay? This can get a little bit in the weeds depending on how many Zoom meetings you have and how many links, but this is where we are right now. And so that is where the polling button and edit button took me to, is because we're in the NSYNC meeting link. All right, so if I scroll down to the bottom of this, you'll see that I have 6 polls created, okay, for this particular Zoom link in NSYNC. We have been working on this one down here. This is the latest one. Now, if I want to edit, this goes back to the question I think that maybe is it Donna brought up. Can you edit things? So yes, so I could go back into the poll. I realized, boom, I want to edit it. So I can open it and then I can click in here, change around, and then I've got my 2 questions. I can add a question. So now that I'm looking at it, I don't think it's easy to just like click on something and shift it and move like, oh, 3 to 1 position and 2 to 4 and all of that. I might have to actually I might have to retype them in the correct order now that I'm looking at it. It's not too big of an issue since the answers are fairly short, but that is how you edit and then you save. I didn't type anything into 3, so it's saying you need to, you can't save something here. So I'm just going to cancel. It's going to go back to my original poll of 2 questions, but I can go back into another poll, click edit, and do what I need to do in here. Hopefully that's pretty clear with everyone. Yes, okay. I am going to stop. I'm not going to stop my share. What I'm going to do is go back to the Zoom window, go back to polling. Okay, and so this is where it gets a little confusing. You're going to see my screen as a host and then your screen as a participant. I'm going to click on polling. Again, poll number 1 is what automatically shows up every time. If I need to get further down into my list of polls, I click on the caret menu. I'm going to scroll down to my brand new poll, December 7th poll experiment. I click on that and you'll see my new questions here. Now I'm going to launch the poll from here. Okay, and so hopefully you're seeing the poll on your screen. Do you see that? Can you give me a little nod if that's the case? Great. Now, if you can go ahead and just answer these questions for fun, just to see how it works on my host screen here, I can see 8 of 22. Do you see the number of attendees who have responded? It keeps going up as we go through. There's a little timer here so I can keep track, make sure that I'm not going on and on too long with this poll. So 21 of 22. No one's expecting coal. That's very good. Okay, so as the host, I need to end the poll. Do I see a hand, Judy? You can unmute yourself. We can't hear you, Miss Judy. You'll need to unmute. Hold on 1 second. Let me try to ask you to unmute yourself. There.
There we go. I was doing it on your computer screen, that's why. So my question is the ability to see the results automatic or for the attendees, or do you have to do something?
So I think that you can see a certain version from my understanding. I don't take very many polls. I usually am giving them, so I don't see what it's like for you on your end. But what I need to do to make sure that you see the results is this next step. So let me show that to you now. I have my mouse. I'm going to end the poll. Boom. So it says poll closed right here. I see this, but you don't necessarily see it until I share the results right here at the bottom right-hand corner. So I'm going to click on that and then Now, hopefully you see it on your screen as a participant, if you can keep track of the difference there of my screen and your screen. And if I want to stop sharing those results, get them off of your window, then I'm going to hit this stop sharing button. Boom. And hopefully that went away. And then as you see, the polling window on my screen as a host is still there. So I need to get rid of it. I'm ready to move on. I need to do that by going to this top corner where the X is, and I'm going to click it and make it shut off. Yes, Donna.
I had a question, and this involves everything you go over, but I have a question. And if you're recording a meeting, what does it save? Does it save all your polling results, or what is exactly saved in a recorded meeting? But that's with everything, because then you have it to go back to produce your newsletter or whatever.
So polling, you have access to the answers that people have selected during a poll. It's more like in a report. It's more like in an Excel spreadsheet document, as opposed to you're seeing kind of a visual of what we just witnessed. It's much more detailed, and it has each participant's name. It has all of the questions and every answer that they chose, unless of course the anonymous was selected. And then I've actually never done that, so I don't know what that report looks like. Do you know, Train?
Yeah, so if you, when you're creating the poll, if you check the box to have users be anonymous, you'll still get that Excel file. You'll have to go in the back end and download the file. It'll show the number of responses for each of the answers. It just won't give you the user information. So the poll Shannon just did with us, because it wasn't anonymous, Donna, I'll be able to pull the report and see that Donna selected, A, B, or C, whatever. But if it was anonymous, all I would know is that A got 12 responses, B got 6 responses, and so forth.
So when you're recording a meeting, the recording gets saved plus this spreadsheet file.
Yeah, so regardless, if you're running a poll, it's going to save the report for you. You don't have to record the meeting. Like, that's independent. So in terms of when you're recording, what gets shown on the recording is basically what you just saw. So like if you rewatch the recording, it will still see the screen with the poll and stuff like that. But the reporting gets saved regardless if you record.
Oh, good to know. Okay. And that, does it have a summary? Is on a line on the spreadsheet, is that summary information available, or just you have to do it yourself?
I believe that there isn't a summary. I think it's just an Excel with all the line, like each line has an answer. So I think there is some like manual manipulation you have to do to get like a nice breakdown, but Shannon, I can check and I'll get a definitive answer for you. I haven't looked at the report in a long time, so.
Yeah, and that's something I can do right now if you want it. It's going to take a little bit of time, maybe from something else, but I can show you at least. I think I'm still sharing my desktop. So if I were to go back to my web browser, I think reports is where I would go for that. Report, and then I always have to meeting. Now I want a poll report right here, and I think that if I search this, it'll show up since yeah. So
I don't think it's going to show up yet because the meeting hasn't ended. I don't think it generates until the meeting has ended. But if you want to generate, I don't know, Shannon, if you can share that poll report, we could generate an old one maybe.
Sure. I know this was my personal meeting from yesterday, and so we didn't do a poll. So I don't, I just saying that it noticed that I had a meeting between today and today, but there was no poll that took place. So maybe I won't spend the time to do now, Donna, but that's how you find it. You can then download.
You can do for a meeting or a registration report and a polling report if they happen during the meeting. And then after the meeting's ended, you have to go to that meeting date and you have to generate it.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
That's all I need to know. Thanks a lot.
Of course, you can play around a lot with these functions. It goes forever, just down the rabbit hole. Judy, I see your
Yeah,
hand.
Shannon, just a quick, I've used polls. A workaround for a summary, if you're getting a detailed one, would be to take a screen print of the summary screen that when you have it up. You know, I've used that as a way to get summaries.
That's such a wonderful idea. Hopefully you can still hear me. I see I got a little, my internet is a little bit funky right now. Hopefully I'm not going anywhere. But yes, so if you know how to do a screenshot of your own screen, that's something to learn. I use it all the time. Great suggestion. Judy, okay, so I believe, yes.
I just want to add something because it came up in one of my meetings that the only way, you know how sometimes you're in a meeting and you want to ask a question, you don't want all the questions to be asked at once. The only way you can do that is you need to create each of the questions as a different poll. So poll 1 would be its own question, and then you would launch that poll. And then let's say you talk for another 15 minutes, then you launch poll 2 to have the second question. Otherwise, it'll show up the way Shannon did it, where all the questions are displayed at one time. So just wanted to mention that because someone asked that in a different meeting.
Yeah, thank you.
I've never. Though, you can have multiple questions in each poll.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to make sure you understand that. You can have like 10 questions in poll 1 and then 5 questions in poll 2.
Yeah, but when you launch it, poll 1 will show all of the questions at one time. So, so if for some reason you wanted to ask a question and then have a discussion before you ask another question, then you should create them as separate polls.
Another thing you can do, thank you for that, Trang, is you can relaunch the same poll. Let's see what happened here. So we've already done poll number 6, and I've shared the results with everyone. I can choose to relaunch that poll and ask the questions again. So it says relaunching the poll will clear existing polling results. Do you want to continue? Yes. And then I think you're probably seeing that poll again. So maybe you could do even like a before and after. So if you have an informational session, you can ask questions. What do you know about this topic? Have the informational presentation, and then do the same poll at the end, and hopefully your results will be better after the fact. So that's just another way to think about it or approach a poll.
Shannon, if you do that, will the file maintain the results of the first one and the second one both?
I've never done it personally. It looks as if it will change them. Trang, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it will only save the most recent one. So that would be an example of you wanting to take a screenshot or creating separate before and after polls.
Right. It could even be the same questions, but you would do 2 different ones so you have results after the fact for both. We're just figuring this out as we go, aren't we? Yes. Okay, good. All right, so polling. Let us move on to the annotation tool, which is something fun that in the past in various workshops and trainings. I'm going to stop my share. And again, I have to go into my back end in order to stop sharing my Zoom control. Okay. So what I'd like to do is utilize this annotation tool as participants. So I'd like you all to experience it as your group members would first, before I show you how to do it from the host perspective. So I'm going to share my PowerPoint again. Okay. I need to do a little shuffling on my screen. Everything's all messed up. Here we go. Okay, so hopefully you're seeing my PowerPoint. I'm going to go to a new slide, and this is what I would like us to interact with as participants today. So I've created this ahead of time, and in the bit of fun and engagement for the holidays, what's your favorite holiday movie? Okay, so I have a selection here. Miracle on 34th Street. I have National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, Elf, It's a Whole Life, A Christmas Carol, A Christmas Story, and Home Alone. Okay, so I've got these 7 selections here. Maybe your favorite isn't on the list, but choose the most favorite. So I would like us to experience this visually as a group, kind of telling a story of how we all are today as our group and what we're feeling. And so the way that we can do that, and Trang, you can from your end, because sometimes I forget what a participant sees. But what I would love to do is to have the annotation tool be activated for each person. So I believe at the top of the screen, if you take your mouse and you hover over where it says you are viewing Shannon's screen, something like that, I believe there's an ellipsis menu or a more menu. If you click on that, the drop down will show annotate or annotation tool, something like that. So can you click on that, everyone? And you'll get a new little menu bar. It's at the top of my screen. I'm not sure where yours is. And you have some selections there. You've got mouse, select, text, spotlight, so on and so forth. What I would like you to do, there's Dave. What I'd like you to do is select the stamp option. Okay, so if you click on the stamp option, you've got 6 different little icons. You have an arrow, you have a check mark, a heart, a star. You can pick one. Now I'd like you to pick one of these stamps and then choose your favorite movie, and you'll see that there's a bunch of white space around each of the movies, and that is where you can click your choice, your stamp. And let's see. We'll start to see who likes what movie, and maybe we're going to have a clear winner. It's helpful. I see some people over here, Miracle on 34th Street. You see these hearts, the red hearts. Sometimes it's hard to see or differentiate between the picture itself and the stamp. So if you do it on the side of the image, then it's a little bit clearer. And try, if you can, to not cover over someone else's, because it's harder to count. Okay, so you can do lots of fun things here. If you want to see what you could do by drawing, but instead of the stamp tool, you can take the draw tool and select on the top left-hand corner. It's basically like a pencil option. So I just circled around a Christmas Carol right there. So you can do that. You can also play with the text tool. So if you click on text, I don't know if you can see that. I just wrote this one, next to elf. And so there's a way to do whiteboard brainstorming in this way. You need to have a blank slate, like either an open PowerPoint slide or some sort of Word document that you're sharing with the group where everybody is working the same virtual space, and then you can start to keep track that way. It can get a little bit crazy. So in the past, I've used Annotate just stamps, and then I have kept track of notes by typing myself and not really having others do that, because it might just get a little bit crazy. So just wanted to let you know that this is something you can do with your group. And with that, I can, as a host, choose to save this image. And so I've clicked on the save option, and so it gets saved onto my hard drive, and I can access that later and send it out to my group if it was relevant in some way, if it would be good for them to have later on. But it's just kind of a fun way to have a visual story of the group that particular day. And then as the host, I get to choose to clear my drawings, clear all the drawings, clear everyone else's drawings. So I'm going to clear all drawings, boom, and then it's a clean slate again. And then if I were to continue on into my PowerPoint, then those little stamps and things would not appear anymore. Yeah. So if I were to not do that, then it would clutter up my screen. So I want to make sure I clear those.
When you click on undo also and clear as a participant, it just erases what you typed. It doesn't erase anybody else's. Just so you don't have to worry about wiping the whole thing clean.
Good point, Dave. Yes, so it's just the host who has that capability of clearing everything out. Okay,
Shannon,
so
Shannon,
yes.
I have a question on text, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, so my question is, I've tried to use text and cannot figure out a way to alter text. You know, it seems like my attempts where I had to erase the whole text and redo it. Is there some way to edit text that you have in?
So Judy, my experience with the text within the annotation tool in Zoom is that it's very limited.
Yeah.
So when
Shannon
I
and
yes.
Judy, did you click on the format button? Do you have that on your toolbar? Because
Yeah.
if you click on that, then it gives you an option. It says font. So at least you can change the size and whether you're bolding it or not.
That is a great point. Was that Bernadette?
Yes.
Oh, great. Okay, yes. So I see it on my screen. I know I'm bringing my Zoom tools with you, but on that same menu bar, format is in, you can change color, line width. You can experiment with that if you'd like on this screen. Please feel free to do that right now. You can change the font, the size. And so it is an option, absolutely. I have found, though, it's just cumbersome. It's very like clunky and it's hard to work quickly. And so when I have used the text in the past, what I have done, and this is a little bit of a workaround and not perfect, is that I would get out of the presentation mode of my PowerPoint. So I am going to, let's see if I can do that. Boom. It's kind of not letting me do that. But what I would do, I'll just explain it, is I would get out of the presentation mode of my PowerPoint. It takes me back to creation screen, and I enlarge one slide on the creation screen in PowerPoint, and then I adapt that slide with text in the mode, but I'm still sharing it, if that makes sense. Let's see if I can. I'm going to get out of annotation and see if I can. There we go. Let's see. Okay, so hopefully you're seeing my PowerPoint, but it's from the creation perspective. So what I would do is make these guys really small or disappear. So it's virtually the same view for you. But if I were to want to, create text here, then I can like keep notes, blah, 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 as I go along. And I just I feel like it has more functionality, and I can zip around a little bit easier. So that's always an option for everyone.
In Zoom, once you leave the text box, that's it. You can't edit it anymore. You can edit it as long as you're in it. When you're originally creating it, but once you get out of it, you can't edit it again.
Oh, that's interesting, Dave. Yeah. Can you move it around? I feel like you can move it around, but you maybe can't change the text with it.
I haven't been able to catch it. I can't highlight the box it's in.
Yeah, you can't select it again. You can't move it. You can't select it.
So
the way you're doing it in PowerPoint, Shannon, is the best way to do it. That's the best option.
That's what I have found, and I know that there are third-party tools like things called Mural and other kind of fancy programs that a lot of companies are using when they have staff meetings and they're sharing ideas and whiteboarding and things like that. And so there are these third-party applications that are available. They just cost money. It takes time to learn it. I have found, boom, I'm just going to use my PowerPoint slide. Like, no big deal. It gets the job done. I can still save the screen and share it after the fact. So that's been my choice.
You can just do it in PowerPoint to begin with if you want. You can just from the very beginning, instead of using the whiteboard to begin with.
Exactly. That's been really helpful for me. Okay, so let me think about what I need to do. I'm going to stop my share, and I am going to share my Zoom windows with you again. And now my desktop. So you can see from my end what it looks like as a host when you use the annotation tool. So up here, you can see that, Trang? Yeah, okay, so I'm clicking annotate. It is right in the middle for me. And so this is where my menu is up. And you'll see this option. I'm not sure if you have clear. I know that Dave mentioned the undo button, which takes away the most recent stamp or writing you just did. But if I hit this clear option, then I can clear all the drawings, clear mine only, or just clear the viewer's drawings. So that's a really great tool to know about. And then the save button is at the very end, and if I want to save it as a PDF or this PNG file, that's what saves directly to my computer for later. Okay, I think we have probably most of the same tools here. Mouse, select is app. It might be what you need to click on in order to on a text box and then be able to move it. That could possibly be something. I just haven't played around too much. I usually just use the stamp because it's easy, it's visual, it's fun. We have a lot of name options here as the participants. It's just these over here. If I to do annotation with a group and they continued during my presentation to mark on my screen and be a little bit distracting, and I'm like, okay, let's turn that on. So I would go over to more here, and disable annotation for others is an option, and so it just can control a little bit of that option for people.
Shannon,
Okay.
because you're the host, you have selected, when you select clear, you get that drop-down box. I selected clear as a participant, and it just cleared all my entries.
All of your own. That's good to know.
It didn't give me a drop-down box. It just cleared my entries.
Yes, so as the host, I can clear everyone, mine, or just the viewers and leave mine up there.
And because you're the host, I think you have select, but I don't think we had select. I can't remember, but I don't think we did.
Okay, so the select could be reserved for the host, and maybe the host can then just move things around.
Yeah.
That's a good thing to experiment with. Okay, so that is annotation tool. Excellent. Moving on, let me keep sharing my Zoom tools and my desktop so you can see what's next. We're going to do our self-select breakout rooms. So this is fun. Hopefully everyone here has updated their Zoom application. And if so, you're going to be able to select what breakout room you choose to go to. So let's also think in the back of our minds as we go through this, how you might use and apply this within your group meetings. Okay. At the bottom of my screen, I'm going to go to break rooms, and this is me as a host. This is what I see. All right, so Trang, can you see this box here? Okay, great. So let participants choose room. This is this brand new option that Zoom has updated us with, which is great. I really love it. So let participants choose the room. I know today I'd like to do 4 breakout rooms, and I have ideas for each one. And I'm going to click create. I have this box here that allows me to see the rooms. I can rename them. And I do that by clicking on this. So here's my idea, is that we can experiment today with jumping around to breakout rooms. All right. So my first room is going to be a topic of discussion. Okay. So this is going to be favorite pet animal. Okay, my second room, I want to do rename. My second room, I want to talk about our favorite foods. The third is favorite travel destination. And the fourth is a favorite book. Okay, let me see if I can expand this at all. Yeah, so I can make this a little bit bigger because favorite was the first word. I couldn't tell the difference. Now, depending on whether you have updated or not, hopefully most of us have. If you have not, then I can help and Train can help. I think as a host, I have to be the one to put you into a room and you won't be able to jump around. But what I would love us to do is for each of us to move to different rooms within the next 5 minutes. It's going to be a little funky. It's kind of like speed dating. You're going to pop into a room and say, oh, my favorite travel destination is blah, blah, blah. It's just going to be with whoever's in that same room at the same time. And then you're going to pick another room and you're going to jump to that other room and say just to whoever is there, this is my favorite food, et cetera, et cetera. So this is really just for you to practice moving from room to room and experiencing what it's like as an attendee to do that. And so all the little buttons that you need to hit in order to do that, what it feels like to be, beamed over to another virtual space and how it feels to go in and out of those spaces. And I would just like to take about 5 minutes this. And so I'm going to, as a host, you'll see here at the very bottom, I have an option to add a room if I wanted. If I decided, I decide I want to do 5 rooms instead, I can add one there. I can delete here. And if I needed to assign people, especially participants who haven't updated their Zoom and they don't have that option of self-selecting, then I can assign people to a particular room. So that might have to happen for a few of you if you haven't updated. I'm going to open all rooms. Boom. And so at the bottom of your screen, you should now on your Zoom window see breakout rooms. Do you see that? Did you see that show up for you? Can you click on that breakout room? And then do you see an option to jump into room 1, 2, 3, or 4? Okay, I think I saw Myra shaking her head, so maybe you haven't updated quite enough. Myra, work after the fact. We can have a private little meeting. Does anyone else not? I see people are now leaving the room. So David, you don't see. Are you on an iPad, David?
There's a subscription. It's an additional add-on. If you don't,
It's a pro Zoom account.
I think I have the pro account, but it doesn't come with the account I have. It's an add-on.
Is it?
Yeah, it's an upgrade. Yeah, you have to get it, just like if you want, like the pro default account only includes up to 100 people. If you want more than 100 people, you need to buy an add-on. So it's $500 or something like that.
Oh my goodness!
No, it's $50 a month. That's what it's $50 a month.
50 a month.
Yeah, I don't think it's an add-on to the Pro, but you have to set it up in your settings. know,
No,
it's not automatically there.
if you want to go over 100 people, that's an add-on. Yeah, it's an additional purchase.
Oh, right, if you need over 100,
And
right.
it's the same thing with the breakout rooms, I believe.
So Judy, was your experience that the breakout rooms, the self-select is automatic with Pro Zoom, but that you have to go to your settings?
You have to initialize it for your, as a initialization, and then it's with you the whole time. Yeah, I only have up to 100 because I don't need more than that.
You don't need more. Sure. So Dave, make a look in your settings.
I thought that was an add-in, but it'd be nice if Judy's right. That it's just a setting. That'd be great.
Sure. Yes, it just showed up magically for me on our Pro Zoom account at PMD Alliance. So I wasn't aware that it was an add-on. I see Teresa, you have raised your hand. You have a question? Let me help you. There you go.
I found in the top left corner where you can also pick gallery view or regular speaker view is where another option was for the breakout room choices.
Okay, and you're on an iPad.
Right. iPad.
Wonderful. Great. So good to know. So in the gallery/speaker view option, there is a third option for breakout rooms, and you get to choose.
In the top left, yes.
Top left. So it's on the left-hand side.
It showed all the different options to go into another breakout room.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing, Teresa. I'm glad that that is possible on an iPad. Sorry, it's not on a Chromebook there, Dave. Bummer, dude. Okay, so does anyone have any feedback for how that felt to jump from room to room? And do you have any ideas for how you might be able to use that in your groups?
Yeah, I think that's extremely useful. I think it's great. I hadn't seen that part where you could see the list of who's in which room, and then pick to go to that room. That's kind of like being at a party and just wandering around from group to group, and it's the next best thing. I thought it was great. It'd be great for a support group meeting at times.
Wonderful. Thanks, Dave. Yes, Judy, Sun City.
It was a lot of fun, just the few minutes we were on there. And I was telling them, some of the folks, that Thursday, a company I worked for in California did their retirement party on Zoom, and they had us in breakout rooms. And so we could go to different rooms, and they were set up by what department the people were in. So you could kind of go to different rooms and socialize with people that you used to work with.
Isn't that great?
That was my first experience, and it was really great. Yeah, I like
it. Okay, good to know. I'm glad it's working for people. I know that when I first heard about this, before there was self-select breakout rooms for participants, what the workaround was for hosts on Zoom was to make every single person in the meeting a co-host. And if they're a co-host, then they would have the ability to jump around, but that's kind of a pain, right? And we don't really want everyone to have all those functions available. It could get, haywire there. So now we have this very specific self-select for participants. Really great. So on those ideas of different rooms, different departments, you might have a different topic. So you could say medications or non-motor symptoms or whatever it is that you might think you could divvy up, and people can think about what it is that they're concerned about today. They might have a question to talk to others about it. So just keep that in mind. Judy from Austin.
That gave me a great idea for our support groups, because they're small, but when a new person to atypical Parkinsonisms comes in, we usually spend the whole session almost with them, and having breakout rooms for newly diagnosed patients could be really valuable.
Oh, great. So you don't have to slow down what's happening in the main meeting in order to help out someone on an individual basis. And if you did have, on that note, several co-hosts, people who are co-facilitators, you could say, hey, Paul, can you please take Teresa to a breakout room and, discuss on the side, little sidebar. Great. Okay, well, yes, Gunter.
I had breakout rooms last month, but people could not choose their own rooms. Now, you said earlier that that's probably because they don't have the latest program. But when I updated yesterday, Zoom told me that it'll get updated automatically when I open Zoom. So shouldn't that have worked?
Good question. It might, Trang might be able to help me with this. I have a feeling that it depends on how you've set up your system preferences on your device and if you have signed up for auto updates or not. And, or do you have to manually update? So Trang, can you
Yeah,
weigh
I
in?
think that nails it because even if Zoom will push the update, but if you have your laptops or device setting to say that you don't want the automatic updates, then you have to manually go in and allow it. So it's a personal thing. But Gunter, I think also if you're saying that last month people weren't able to choose their room, I don't think Zoom rolled out this change at that point. I think it's pretty recent. It might have happened after that meeting that you had. So
Okay.
Well, it's funny because Gunther, I believe you and I were the ones who had the conversation. You brought it to my attention about the self-select. Do you remember that? Was that?
Yeah, that, right.
And
that
yeah, I
happened
had
was a week before I tried it for my group.
okay. Interesting. So I didn't even know about this self-select, and Gunter said, "Oh, there's this third option." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" We had a side meeting, and we played around together on Zoom, and I updated, and the one who actually notified me of that change. So,
Shannon, just to put this issue to rest, Judy in Austin was correct on this. And I logged on. I created a Zoom account on my other computer here. And under the settings, under the account settings, is an option that says breakout room, allow hosts to split participants into separate, smaller rooms, and it's set off by default. So I set it on, and it comes on. Thank you, Judy.
Great.
So you don't
Love
need an
that.
upgrade. You still need an upgrade if you want to go over 100 people, but if you're not over 100 people, you're fine.
That's a good problem that you have, Dave, is such a large support group. So that's pretty cool, pretty special. Okay, so we have drilled down a bit on our self-select breakout rooms. We have about 15 minutes left. I thought I could share a few more things with you. We're not going to get through everything. I will show you custom gallery view. Since you're still seeing my Zoom controls and I'm sharing my desktop, I'd like just to make sure that you know that you have the capability to, do you see my mouse here? I am on David and I get to move people around my screen. So this is custom gallery view, and that everyone should be able to do that. So give that a whirl, on an iPad, on other devices. I'm sorry, I don't have all that knowledge of the different devices. But if you are on a computer, see if you can grab onto someone's image and then move it to a different place in the screen. Yeah, that's pretty cool, isn't it? So if you were doing introductions maybe, and you wanted everyone in your group to speak, you could say, Dave, I'd like you to start, boom, and then he's up there. And then Teresa, once she says her thing, boom, and then so I can kind of control it that way. If people, you'll notice if they turn their video on and off, they might jump to the end of the list, like down here, because non-video participants usually go to the bottom, and so that can mess you up. But if you do have the ability to try to remind yourself, oh, Bill, he already went, and let me actually see what happens when I try to move Bill. So he does stay when I go there, even if he has his video off. So that's just something good to know about. All right. Pinning and yes, Judy, I see.
Shannon, I have a question for you on that. So when
Uh-huh.
you do that, does that only hold for your screen or does that hold for the participants?
So as the host, let's see here. Let me stop sharing. And I want you to experiment with your custom gallery view. All right, so this is
And
now.
when I moved mine, it moved.
Okay, great. So I am going to move Kelly to the second position. She should not be there for you. Is that true?
Yeah, she
Yeah.
doesn't.
So this is just for your sake. You know, this is even participant. You have the ability to move certain people around your.
So I can see that that could be useful if you're recording a session and you want to have those people, you know, highlighted and more visible for the recorded session if they're speaking.
On that note, I don't have total knowledge of this, but I think that the multi-spotlight option is better for recording purpose. And the spotlight can show. Spotlight is. Oh, go ahead, Train.
Sorry, you were breaking up, so I was just going to supplement that. Yeah, so there's a spotlight option that Shannon will show us. When you're recording, it actually will record whoever's speaking. So unless you spotlight them. So even if on your view, like I'm a co-host, I could be recording, but even on my view, like I have people in a certain order, that's not what the recording will show. It'll show whoever is talking or whoever is spotlighted. So, okay, sorry, Shannon, go ahead.
Thank you for, just confirming that. Still learning all this. In the recording, you would like, oh yeah, I can see everyone, but that's not necessarily the case. It's really like a speaker view situation. So let's talk about spotlighting and what that could be used for. So I know in the past, since this came Zoom a couple months ago, I have used it with introductions. So I had paired people up in breakout rooms. I put 2 in each breakout room. They learned about each other and then they came back to the main room and introduced each other. And so I wanted to force spotlight the 2 people. So the person speaking about the other and that they're both on the screen at the same time. And that as a host, I can force that view on everyone. So say Joyce. I need to share my my window, my Zoom windows again. Just one moment, sorry. Oh, it is. I am sharing.
No, we're not seeing anything.
Oh, I need to share my desktop. That's it. Yep, not this, but that. Okay, so I'm sharing my desktop now. Also sharing my Zoom windows. Now, so I have Joyce here in the bottom left, and I want her to be spotted. So I see in the list, spotlight for everyone. Boom. So she then becomes large on the screen. And so who is, hi, Joyce. So I want her to introduce Kathy. And so Kathy is small on my screen. So I had to scroll through my people and make sure I found Kathy because I know they were partners. I then go to her ellipsis menu and I want to add spotlight as a replace spotlight, right? So if I replaced, it would be larger, Joyce would go away. But if I add, then boom, we have the situation where I can control this introduction station. They go back and forth. Just to let you know here on each, do you see this little thumbtack? That is the indication that they are spotlighted. Okay, so say I wanted to go to Freddie and Gunter because they were partners. So I would go to Joyce's ellipsis menu. I'm going to remove the spotlight. I'm going to and then if I only have Kathy, remove spotlight is right there on the screen and easy to find. Boom. Okay, so now it's just going back to sort of like a speaker view. I would go to Freddie and say spotlight for everyone. I'd go to Gunter, add a spotlight, and then there we go. Okay, hopefully that's pretty clear for everyone. It's a really nice, I can add my, so if I want 3 or 4 or 5, say I had a panel, if I had a panel of 3 experts visiting and I wanted to force spotlight all 3 of them, I could do so. I'm not sure how many it goes up to, probably unlimited, but you don't want it spotlight too many people or they're not that much bigger than anyone else at that point. They keep shrinking in size. So I will remove the spotlight on each of these. Let's see. Is your remove spot view? Remove spotlight. Go.
And Shannon, can you tell us the difference between the pin, what the pin is used for?
Okay, so pinning is different than spotlighting because pinning is something that participants can do rather than just the host. And it's a way for you as a participant to control your view. So let's see, I'll show you from my end, then I'll stop sharing my desktop. So if I want to pin Trang on my own screen, I go to her ellipsis, I pin her. Trang and Phoenix will remove all spotlighted videos. Do I want to continue? Yes. So this is really just for my purposes. So Trang is now large on my screen, but she wouldn't be large on yours. You're seeing her large because I'm sharing my desktop, but just to kind of get that in your head. And I can multi-pin people in the same way. So if I go to Roger and I want to add Roger there, so he's now pinned on my screen too. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my desktop. And so kind of clean slate, hand corner of your own screen, the gallery view, and then experiment with this for a moment and see if you can pin 2 or 3 people on your screen and see what happens. And that should and will not affect anyone else's view.
So Shannon, why are we seeing you full screen in back of our gallery?
So that should be, and help me, Trang. I think it's because it defaults back to speaker view.
Okay.
Once someone is made large into a speaker or pin or spotlight, so you would go back to your gallery view, hover over your Zoom window, go to the top right corner, go to gallery.
Yep.
And then you get Brady Bunch. Yep. And then you can see everyone who's there and then start your pinning process from that screen. Is everyone having luck doing this? Are you pinning your people and changing and adding, removing? So David, boo. Boo on Chromebook. Maybe Santa's gonna bring you an iPad or something a little more functional for the Zoom. You're on with our programs almost every day, so it actually might be a worthwhile investment, I'm thinking. Okay. Yes. So everyone, we're at 3 minutes left, and we haven't even finished the last few settings and features I wanted to go through. There's a lot, isn't there? Why don't I just stop at that point and see if we have any questions, anything we need to just emphasize how something's done. Any questions I can address?
I have one if no one else has one. You know, like
Sure.
when we were in the breakout rooms and you sent that message, okay, we're gonna put you back in all together, whatever message said you have, or sometimes it says you have 5 minutes left or whatever, that blue box that pops up. Can you do that? And how did you do that? Or is that part of the breakout room?
It's part of the breakout room option as a host. Let me share my screen and see if I can get to that easily.
Could you pop that up and at any time even outside of break? breakout rooms?
So no, the broadcast messages, in my understanding, is only for breakout rooms. Anyone who is in that breakout room.
Yeah, like just in the screen we're in now, for instance, if you wanted to just put up just a little notice or something, meeting will end in 5 minutes type of thing, or just something like that, just to flash a note by without having put in chat, because people don't always catch them in the chat.
Yeah, that's what I was going to suggest, Dave, is just putting it into the chat. I think that's the best way that I know. Trang, do you know of any other way to visually
No,
broadcast a message here?
sorry. I mean, you could always screen share like a Word doc or something, I guess, if you really wanted their attention. But unfortunately, the broadcast only works if you have breakout rooms open. So, so even if you were in this main room and Shannon sent the broadcast, you still saw it, which is cool. But that's because she had a breakout room open. But once she closes it, she doesn't have that option to send those messages.
Yeah, so down here, breakout rooms, when you'll see when I open, I don't have any broadcast message button available to me until I've opened the rooms, and then that broadcast button would show up for me, and then that message only goes to the breakout rooms. It does not appear on the main room window.
Can I point out something real quick?
Sure.
On something that, and the feature they added that I found very helpful. I was having a problem with my lights before. I was always coming out too dark, and I was always putting lamps all over the place and stuff, and positioning lamps. And now they sell them for Zoom. You can clip onto your screen, your monitor, which gives you light. But they added a new feature, a new option in this version to adjust the light display, and it did adjust it for. If you go under next to stop video.
You all seeing my screen
video
here?
Video settings, yeah, video settings. You see the adjust light, low light. You can set it to auto or put it to manual, and set it your own way. So set it to manual, and then play with the thing. You see how it's like having a light there.
That's really helpful for a lot of folks who have too much backlighting behind them, like windows or that, and it's hard to see their faces. So this was something I plan to share. So thanks for just mentioning that, Dave.
Some people are buying those lights you hook up to your monitor, and those are like $30 or $40 before you go buy one of those. Try that thing out. Yeah, save you some money.
Absolutely, that's a really good find. Thank you for that. All right, everyone. Well, we learned a lot today, huh? Thank you for teaching me as well, because I learn more about these functions as I practice. It's really hard to practice by yourself, let me tell you. When you don't have people to move around and go in and out of rooms and all of that, and to pin, and so this is super helpful for me. Good. Okay, no last minute questions. Thank you for being here, Paul. And we'll get the recording out to you. I'm going to send an email to everyone who registered today. I'll send the slides that we covered. And yes, so please join us next Monday. We've got a roundtable. And come with ideas for holiday activities, online holiday activities for your groups this month, okay? And you can bring cookies and hot cocoa to drink and make it a little more festive. You can wear a fun hat. I'll probably wear an ugly sweater, maybe. We can have a contest. But yeah, I'd love to see you next week, and that will be our last of the month before we join back up in January. Okay, everyone, thanks so much for coming and for participating and adding Ashton. So really appreciate it. Everyone take care. Bye-bye. Have a great week. Hope to see you next time.
Take care.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you. Take care, everyone.